It's nice having you on yet another awesome episode of Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. I am Henry Igwe. Right about now, we're moving to our newspaper headlines to see what they have for us, and right after that will be our main conversation for today. It's still very important we make known that the President Bola Tinubu is back to Nigeria. That will be one amongst our many discussions on the newspaper headlines today. And with me to do that is Mr. Cyril Abaku. He is a public affairs analyst and a broadcaster. Welcome, Mr. Cyril.
Thank you, Henry.
Good morning to you.
Thank you, Henry.
Now let's talk about President Bola Tinubu, who is back to Nigeria after a French leave. He went to France and he's back after a French leave. So tell us more.
Well, Henry, in a manner, what we know is that the president's aircraft touched down yesterday at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. His chief of staff was there to welcome him.
Okay.
So was the DG of the DSS. So was the minister of the FCT. So was the Kaduna State governor. So while a host of other dignitaries who were on hand to offer the welcome party to the president. It's a good thing. It's good news to say that our president is alive and well, and that his business in France went well, even if it was private, but that now he's back to the country to take back his seat and steer the course of a nation that appears to have gone adrift. Not only so because he was absent, but because, I mean, before, during and after, things are not looking very bright in the economy, in the social space, in homes, in many places. Things like they say in the streets, the streets are not smiling as it is. So, but it's good that the president is back. Largely, when he was away, one could have asked who was in charge, because he didn't particularly hand power to his deputy, to his vice president. And only yesterday we saw that the chief of staff to the president, Femi Gbajabiamila, had a meeting with some persons, the NSA and some select persons, holding, whether it was a security meeting, economic meeting, whatever it was. The Minister of Agriculture was there, the Minister of Finance was there, which means that, strictly speaking, this would have been a conversation around the price of things in the market, foods and everything. But in my opinion, the Nigerian problem right now does not require meetings and conferences. It is clear we know that because of insecurity, farmers can go to farms. It is clear we know that because farmers can no longer go to farms. The few left in the markets have, the price that we have inflated. So what you do is tackle insecurity. But the question is, do you have the political will to deal with insecurity? When unjust, people can be killed for fun.
All right, so before you go ahead, I think it's very important because there are lots of such stories on the dailies today. So as we continue to fleshing them out, we will talk more on all of that. But let us start off with the Guardian newspaper today, and the big story there says inflation, price hike, push an egg a day diet beyond Nigerians' reach. And also we have on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, Naira free fall. CBN blames a rising number of Nigerians schooling abroad and medical tourism for the price of the Naira against the dollar. And also we have it here, also that Lagos TUC orders protest ban on sachet alcohol, cite potential 500,000 job loss. And also NNPCL spends 267.98 billion naira on security as all operators struggle. Mr. Cyril, before the elections, President Bola Tinubu said an egg a day would be his mandate for Nigerian school children. Right about now, an egg a day is beyond the reach of Nigerian parents for the school children. What do you think is the missing link here?
I even wonder why a president will say an egg a day is a presidential vision. It's laughable, really. There are certain things that we should be doing because things are okay for us to do. If we're properly educated, when I was in secondary school, one of our agricultural teachers had a farm, had a poultry. He had an only daughter who had an egg a day. we could have afforded it, but it wasn't necessarily part of what we ate a day because it wasn't in our minds that we needed to eat one egg a day. But he, being a teacher, knew that his daughter needed to have one egg, and she was a small girl. My parents could have afforded to give me 1 crate of egg per day.
Yeah.
But they didn't, because perhaps in their orientation they didn't think it was something I needed. Where I'm going to is, if the economy was good, and like my parents, anyone can afford to have an egg a day, and they knew that they needed to do that, then they would have been doing it by education. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My parents could afford it, but they didn't give me an egg per day because they didn't think it was something I needed. But perhaps I had protein and other things by other means.
Because I actually wanted to say, isn't an egg a day a metaphor? Isn't it
A metaphor for what?
a metaphor to justify the fact that Nigerian children should have more than enough food, should have nutritional food?
Well, again, if that was the president's campaign promise, who am I to now be able to see into his mind to know what he really meant by what he said? But the point I'm making is, even if we took it to be a direct statement that each child should have an egg per day, what I'm saying is that the president shouldn't be the one putting eggs in people's foods. If parents are educated and they know the right thing to do, they shouldn't afford. How much is an egg cost?
Today an egg goes for 200 naira.
But you see, so why should it even be the case? And then when it becomes a presidential agenda, it becomes a national embarrassment. Why should we now be talking about children should have one egg per day? Make the economy buoyant, make parents solvent, and tell them that they need to give their children one egg per day. They will afford it. Because it shouldn't even be a matter of affording it. If we even conceptualize what an average Nigerian home should look like, father, mother, maybe 2 or 3 children, then a small farm around the house. Growing up, we had goats, we had pigeons, we had normal birds, we had at the point we added dogs too. All right, of course, we had the space to have all of these things around.
So it was such like an animal farm.
No, it was a domestic farm.
Okay.
So this is the thing. But you see, a lot of over the years, Nigerians have come to not only overlook, but we've actually come to despise and hate agriculture.
Okay.
So, can the Nigerian home be a home where we grow a portion of the things that we need for our nutrition? These are higher thoughts to be thinking, and not to say an egg per day. And now, suddenly we say we can no longer sustain an egg per day. What does that even mean? For a president to make an egg per day, if it was even the first lady who was saying that for Nigerian children, it's different. But the president will say, I'm going to put one egg in your meal every day. Come on.
Of course, we've always known.
There are bigger things to think.
We have always known our president as the president of palliatives.
Well,
he was very good.
Yes, but again, he's been told by economists that you cannot run a large economy on palliatives and support. People must be independent, must be strong, must be able. As a matter of fact, let me add this. I was talking about what the vision of a Nigerian home should be: father, mother, perhaps 3 children or 4 children with a little farm around. You can't do that without employing at least 2 people to work with you.
Exactly.
And it's 2 hands, either to turn the farm or garden or something. So even the home can create jobs. We should be thinking of this sort of things and not to be talking about where will the eggs come from.
Exactly. So let's look at this very sensitive issue. It's seen regional groups hinge coup on hardship, failure of democracy. Are they speaking to Nigeria?
The well could be. It is not even a matter of are they speaking to Nigeria. It's a matter of they are speaking to all Africans. Have you noticed that in Senegal, ECOWAS is directly opposing the president?
ECOWAS is directly.
Yes. You see, before now they spoke for themselves alone. If a president was doing the wrong thing, they wouldn't chastise.
Yes.
Today, as I'm talking to you, ECOWAS is chastising the president of Senegal.
Okay, for shifting.
Yes.
They
told him go back to the original timetable.
Oh, because they are realizing the effect of such issues not going well.
They are now standing with the people. This is a country in which the government cut internet services, cut off social media connections. They cut everything off, so that people will be able to mobilize and maybe go to the street or something. I saw the headlines where ECOWAS is telling the president of Senegal that he's not doing the right thing.
Now let's bring this home to Nigeria, because that is almost what it is looking like economically. Because
no, the Nigerian situation is this.
Yes.
Let me just jump in, if you pardon me.
Yeah.
We've never had it this worse. Sorry, this bad. In 66, it wasn't this bad. In 75, it wasn't this bad. In 83, it wasn't this bad. In 93, it wasn't this bad. This is the first time Nigerians have been so tolerant and be so tolerant of corruption and inflation and all. You see, where we are today, we're in a very bad place. And that is, to put it euphemistically, we're in a terribly, awfully, we're in a very bad place.
Do you think there's a possibility of breaking the elastic limit?
Of what?
Do you think it's possible to break the elastic limit?
Well, I mean, hasn't it already been broken?
Well,
I think it's been broken in my view. It's been broken. But I think that, again, the foundation on which this democracy was built isn't the same on which we built it in the first and second and third republics. That's why it has lasted this long. I think largely, roots and all, we are able to see eye to eye a bit more now.
Or could that be could that be connected to our largely divided diversity?
Yes, again, but you see, we are more divided today than we were before.
Yes.
But the possibility of social intervention appears remote, so to say, because we've eaten the apple, the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. We've done that in Nigeria today. So we are now aware that we are naked, and we are now covering ourselves with figs. So that covering, I'm speaking very symbolically, that covering appears to be shielding a lot of things away from us. It doesn't take away that the fact that a D-Day may be by the corner.
All right, a D-Day might be by the corner. Let's go to the Punch newspaper today, and the big story there says Nigerians spent 98 billion naira on foreign trips education in 10 years. That's coming from the CBN. And the writer says CBN says it can't stabilize exchange rate alone, puts annual food import at $15 billion. Senate summons Cardoso, grills CBN governor Friday over forex crisis, economic challenges. And on the top strip of the $84 million, IOCs withhold fresh investment over 1.3 billion naira debt. Mr. Cyril, just like we did say on the last paper we talked about, President Bola Tinubu is back. He's organizing an emergency meeting on food crisis. Do we expect another palliative from the president of palliatives?
But we know that palliatives won't go anywhere. People will not. Those palliatives will. If the palliatives that were distributed the first time, just a couple of months ago, had permeated, had percolated, had cascaded down, if those palliatives had really gone to the common man the way it should have gone, we wouldn't have been in this crisis now. Let's see only palliatives. If that money had been properly invested in the economy, imagine what the ripple effect would have been today. Would have created jobs, would have become productive, would have industrialized. But the president prefers to give palliatives. That way, people can steal money. And has anybody audited how the money was spent? We are the ones who are the people producing corruption. I don't have anything to say about it.
All right, so let's jump into another big story that, of course, that's making rounds on the Punch newspaper. Killers, kidnappers, free slain Kwara monarch's wife, 13 suspects nabbed. Now, I want us to base our discussion on the suspects that have been nabbed. Why do we keep having people nabbed after incidents that occur like this one, but still, just in a bit of a time, we still have such occurrences, and they still make demands? What is the Nigerian police force not telling us that we don't know?
I honestly don't. I wish I worked with them. I honestly don't know. But I do know that today in Nigeria, your security has become your private responsibility. I don't know. Do we still have a police? Because if we did, we won't be where we are.
Do you think there's a certainty of seeing an Acapulco in Mexico, in Nigeria coming soon, where you know the drug cartels are overriding the police force and people are beginning to scamper for help for safety?
I don't know that it is scampering. When policemen that should be providing security for you are carrying the handbag of a local government council chairman, serving food to somebody. The other day, was it the DSS man that was using his handkerchief to clean the minister's shoes at the public function? Are we not already there? When things happen, do you think of calling the police first? Do you sincerely do that in Nigeria? So aren't we already there? Maybe not up to the degree of the Acapulco, but we're not in a good place, Henry. We are not in a good place at all. We're in a very terrible place.
All right, so let's move on to the Nation newspaper, and we have a very ridiculous, big story here. It says federal government, our economic policies yielding fruits. Of course, it's not surprising to get such from the Nation newspaper. And the writer there says, we are improving living standard. Bagudu explains revenue target. How we are bringing down inflation by Cardoso. More palliatives for vulnerable Nigerians. Of course, we can only get such kind of stories from the Nation newspaper. On the top strip of the same newspaper, we have Nigerians spend $40 billion on foreign education and healthcare. Mr. Cyril, you are a pressman, you are a broadcaster. We understand the importance of setting agenda, right, by media organization. But how fast can such agenda go in not resolving the problem, but escalating the problem? Because obviously what the Nation newspaper is saying here is trying to protect the interest of those who are causing mayhem to our country, supposedly.
Now, so media can become a part of the problem, and disingenuously so. That's a very dubious headline there. It's dubious. I don't understand whether the editors realize that that the paper they are writing on, they are turning themselves into a rag sheet. The headline is not worth the paper on which it is being written. I don't understand what they mean by our economic policies are yielding fruit. I thought journalism thrives on balance.
True.
So if you took the side of government, why didn't you also go on the streets, hear what people are saying, and also put it somewhere in the rider and say, but people are feeling this or saying that? Or is there any one they will ever make what people say the lead story? If you really do that, then you are not helping the society. Media has gone away from being the mouthpiece of government, as it used to be in the years past. Today, media should be independent, should be a voice of the people, should be the voice of the unheard. But ownership patterns and other constraints wouldn't allow certain editors to work freely. You have a choice to either walk away or do what is right. But economic policies are yielding fruit that only those who are doing economic policy are seeing. And not those for whom the policy is being adopted. That's nothing could be more disingenuous than such a dubious headline.
Exactly. So lastly, let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper. The big story there says protest over high prices. No food shortage in Nigeria. That's coming from the federal government also. And also on the top strip of the same newspaper, we have petrol queues emerge in Lagos and its environs, stabilizing the Naira task for all Nigerians. That's coming from the CBN governor, Cardoso. And lastly, we have it here. Labour protest at NAFDAC over ban on alcoholic beverages in sachet. Mr. Cyril, aren't we creating more problems for ourselves, especially coming from NAFDAC at this time, wanting to ban alcoholic beverages in sachet?
So I think, well, personally, I had issues with retailing alcohol in sachets.
Why?
No. So and then the place where they sell them, you retail alcohol and sell it at the bus parks. You've turned all the commercial bus drivers into. So
respect for choice, respect for the freedom.
But who is there to enforce and to?
Do we have a ban? Does Nigeria have a ban on the time we should consume whatever it is we want to consume?
So by law, if you're a policeman on duty, you don't drink. If you're if you're a commercial bus driver, you don't drink and drive. You don't drink and drive. But the real issue behind the ban is not even commercial bus drivers. You see, if you follow the news closely, are you aware that the police is doing rigorous trainings on how to push back mass protests?
Okay.
It's underway.
All right.
They know that sachet alcohol, these are things that they use to light on the streets. So maybe to avoid the D-Day I was talking about earlier, they know that if they don't, these are things that fuel street action. Mob action.
But that's only in school now. It's not the good enough excuse.
They didn't tell me that. They didn't.
It's your opinion. Okay.
But you see, again, for you in mini school, but for them, they see it differently. Then, thirdly, the labor's concern about the fact that if people now lose their jobs, what do they now do?
500,000.
Somebody around cost benefit analysis,
yes.
They have seen that it is cheaper to have people unemployed than to have people being. Somebody must have done the analysis to say it is more manageable to have people unemployed than to have people drinking and causing protests.
Why are we always acting as if we are in another world? You don't see these sort of things in other parts of the world. Let's take for example, in countries like Manila, in Indonesia, you still have red districts, right, in open air. It's there for everyone. It's a choice. So you don't go for it. Yes. Do you understand the economic importance of that to the generality of the country? Do you know what it means losing 500,000 people and sending them away?
So again, yes. The point is this: when we say alcohol from the age of 18 and above, right? The way and manner in which people can hawk retail alcohol, sachet alcohol in Nigeria is not right. You can say that people can start drinking from, say, evening and go to a pub and drink. It must be properly, I have to be honest with you, it must be properly regulated. Those red light zones are not everywhere. If you want to go to red, you know you're going to the red light zone. If you want to drink, you know you're going to a drinking spot. But to have somebody put all those things, on the head and hawking it everywhere freely, I don't think it's good for any society. Okay. You make even the should be drinking. So a secondary school student who, for example, was given 100 naira as a what do you call it? As stipend for the day. Can just walk up to them and say, how much is 15 naira? Just down and give for the fun of it. I don't think it's proper. Because this is just anybody can access it. It's not right. Restrict its sale, okay, to places where was it called? Where if you know that if you are going there, you are going there. But it should not be also something that you sell 50 or 100 naira. It should be something that is bought from 5,000 and above, so that only those who know that. If people came together to say, let's continue to go and buy a bottle of scotch or something. That's what we're going to do. But to have this thing just mini parks, marketplaces, markets are everywhere, and I don't think it's right. Okay. The consequences are just not. Alcohol has never had any good consequence for any society, honestly speaking.
Well, it's a give or take. What is good for one person might not be good for another. Well, that's just about the time we have for newspaper reviews today. I'd love to thank you, Mr. Sue, for being part of our show. Okay. I hope you will stay back for our main conversation.
I hope so.
Okay. So, when we return, protesters call for approval of a senator linked with banditry. That in a bit. When we come back, please don't go anywhere. It's still Enterprise Morning and Enterprise TV.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.